Welcome to Māori Customary Law, a place where Hapu can establish their native council or their Hapu authority under the Constitutional Order of New Tirini and exercise their kawe and tikanga to protect their whenua and their taonga. Please use the website below to learn more about the native councils or join us today for our Hapu korero.
We had a similar process not so long ago, actually, but just after just before Christmas, where one of our nephews committed suicide, and we were sort of coming to the end of the orange light, red light carry on, but we were still only allowed 25 people to, gathering. This is what the government was putting out. And the trustees obviously are the whanau, and they were adamant that the marae was not going to be opened. So we just, we thought, man, what are we going to do? As a whanau, how are we going to make this work? Because, we knew whanau wanted to travel from Auckland. They all had to be tested before they left, because we are actually an anti-vax whanau. So a lot of us are not vaccinated. Even in Auckland, they haven't been vaccinated. So they had to sort of go through the process down there of just getting swabs to get through the borders and to come up to this tangi. So we just decided, we went to see the trustees and we asked them if we managed to get a tent, could they open the ablution block for us? And they said, no, definitely not. So it actually just came down to what we could actually pull out of the hat. We needed, we could have had it at the house, but it was too small. And that's actually where he took his life. So everyone was really uncomfortable about that. And so we actually got into karakia, and then we just got up from that karakia, and the wairua just started to flow. And we just started getting revelation, started dropping in, and we decided to start ringing the whanau. We just rung around. We got a huge circus tent from one of our other cousins, and we put that right up next to the marae. And then all these other tents started, pergolas, gazebos, started coming in through other whanau members, and we set that up as the kitchen and the eating area. And this was all going up right next door to the marae. And then all of a sudden, the trustees started turning up. And they were having a look, it was like they were having a look to see what was going on. They were just like, wow, this is actually amazing. Wow, look at the resources the whanau has. This is good. This could be could be the way we're looking at things in the future. And I was sort of having a giggle to myself, because I was thinking to myself, really? When the marae's just right next door? So but anyway, we actually had to get our own toilets. So we rang around and we ended up getting toilets off the bosses, off the kumara gardens. They have portaloos all over their gardens. So we rang them and they actually helped us to pull it off and gave us their toilets. So that we didn't have to pay for those. We didn't have to pay for the tents, the gazebos. It was all koha. It was all koha and aroha. So we were able to pull off that tangi. We went for 5 days, this tangi. And it was a beautiful tangi. And at the end of the day, the trustees came in and they were saying that, you know, they were very sorry. They were very sorry they couldn't open the marae to the whanau. They actually felt really embarrassed about what was actually happening right next door to the marae. And so, you know, my thoughts were, if they actually had the process that we have, the Hapu Native Council process, that just wouldn't be happening anywhere on any of our marae. It just, yeah, because they're bound, as being trustees, they're bound to legislative law. But under the Hapu Native Council, we're not. We just live under our tikanga. Just like our kawa tikanga, just like how Mere was saying, it was up to the whanau. You know, the whanau actually determined what would go on at their tangi. And it was pretty much what happened on our side as well. But it didn't happen at the marae, it happened beside the marae. Because the trustees were afraid to open doors, and that because they didn't want the police coming down and pulling them all out, you know, and shutting us down. But that particular whanau didn't really care, you know. They would have fought hard. And I think that's what all it comes down to. It is actually the whanau. And if we all dropped our hats, our trustee hats, those things could be open all right. And that's where I think we get unstuck. We get unstuck because it's just those little tweakings that we have to do so that the maraes are getting run by us. We just have to authenticate that whenua so that we can make our own determinations and resolutions on whether we're open at level 4, level 2, 3, and 3, 2, and 1. We shouldn't be dictated to externally from the government how we run our marae. It is down to the whanau, the hapu, how we manage our marae. But yeah, just I noticed a lot of the trustees are still stuck there and don't want to take off their crowns. So, but anyway, we had a fabulous tangi. It was absolutely beautiful. The resources were there. We just had to look out, outside the square, basically. And, and it was actually a beautiful thing because because we had a tent, we were actually on the whenua. The whenua was under our feet. We were sleeping on the grass, on the mattresses. We managed to get mattresses from another marae. They koha the mattresses. So we were actually right on the whenua. The coffin was on the ground, it was beautiful. You could just feel it. And all the messages that were coming through and the aroha for our nephew. It was, yeah, I can't explain it, but it was I felt like it was the birthing of a new tikanga that was coming our way, because I saw that the tikanga did change from the marae to this tent. But when we first started, there was actually probably no tikanga, but as the days went by, the whanau slowly pulled order within that tent. And it, by the day we buried our nephew, the tikanga was on, and everyone was learning, and it was a time for learning, and it was a time of shift, mentally, and it was like a challenge to the trustees as well, that they could see that the whanau could actually do without the marae. So there was no so no one was above another, because we were actually all at the same level, even the trustees. No one showed any animosity towards the trustees. They just welcomed them in, even though we knew they were the ones shutting the door. But they were learning too, and they learnt from that kaupapa of our nephew passing away. So yeah, to me it was beautiful, and that's how I see it. It's actually down to the hapu of that marae. If they have the authentication process, they establish themselves as the native council, then that carry on won't be happening anymore. And you will have your marae, you'll have everything over your marae, and you'll dictate how your marae is run. Just throw out the legislative law and impose rules and regulations, and sit on your own kawa tikanga. That's how I see it. But kia ora.